of a timestamp added with that, like when that file was created, when that file was modified, when that file was accessed. So it is actually called as MACB timestamp. MACB means M means modified, A means access, then creation time metadata, and then the birth time when that file was kind of created. Okay, so using those kind of time, how can we figure out for any kind of incident if that file was created, or if that file was accessed, or if that file was modified, or even if, let's say, you rename that file. For an example, you have a file and you want to figure out if that file was renamed. Okay, so just using the time of that file, what all times it has, you can kind of figure out if that file was renamed. Similarly, let's say you copy a file from one folder to other folder, you can actually figure out if that file was copied just by seeing the timestamp. Okay. Similarly, if that file was moved, let's say if a file was deleted from its own original folder and moved to a different folder, so in that case, again, using the time, just using the timestamp, you can kind of figure out if that file was moved or not. Okay. So there are a lot of things that you can kind of figure out from just using timestamp. If that file was deleted, you can figure out from the timestamp of that file. So we'll try to see all this thing in detail going forward. Maybe also using on the lab that I have prepared for you guys. Okay. In similar manner, let's say I'll quickly go through this whole thing at a high level for now, and then maybe in the next class we will kind of start deep diving on all those things in much more detail. So now the thing is that, let's say you are handling a investigation, and you wanted to kind of figure out, okay, what all software has actually ran on that system. So let's say you are dealing with a malware case and you wanted to figure out, okay, in that window host, what all files were executed. Okay, so to know that, there are multiple different kind of artifacts on that host. Okay, like simcast artifacts are there. And then similarly in the Windows 10, there is a new feature which is called a timeline. So if you guys have used Windows 10, you can kind of, you might have experienced that, okay, there's a timeline feature where you can see, okay, what all work you did earlier, and you can go to that stage automatically by setting your timeline. So that timeline feature also kind of creates create a artifact on the host. So we will basically look at few of the artifacts from here, like simcast, let's say amcast, jump list, prefetch file. Okay, we'll try to kind of look at those things, like let's say last minute MRU or user assist artifacts. So we'll try to understand, okay, what all this artifact are and how it can be kind of useful for us. Okay, let's say for an example, let's say the prefetch file. Okay, so the prefetch file location is something, you will see the prefetch file on the window host with this extension .pf, and these files are existing in this folder, C drive Windows prefetch folder. So going to this folder, you can actually get all the prefetch file that was created by the Windows. And what it will give you, this all thing. Let's say there was a malware that got executed in the system. The name of the malware, let's say, was abc.exe. So you can figure out all those details, all details from there. Let's say you open that prefetch file. The name of that file is abc-hash of that file and that pf. You can get information like when that file was first created on the host, when that file was executed on the host, and are there any other files that software, that abc.exe malware actually accessed on the host. So those all information you can actually get it from the just by analyzing the prefetch file. Okay, so in similar manner, what we'll do is that we'll see a lot of other artifacts like simcast and all, and kind of figure out, okay, how can we use this artifact to know what all kind of software has executed on the system. Okay, so this is what we'll do from the application execution part. Similarly, we will look at few of the file and folder openings. So let's say we are dealing with a investigation where we want to kind of figure out what all files were accessed on the host by the malware, or let's say we are dealing with any policy violation case, and let's say there is an employee who is kind of, let's say, transferring huge amount of file to a external cloud drive, let's say Google Drive for an example. So in that case, how can we know that, okay, what files that person has touched, or what file did that person was looking at previously? So in that case, what we can do, there are multiple other different kind of artifacts in the Windows, for an example. So we'll look at more at the Windows part and a little bit more on the Linux part. Okay. So on the Windows part, we'll look at, okay, what are different artifacts. So let's say one of the artifacts is cellbacks. Okay. So cellbacks is really cool artifact. So what it does is that it actually records, like, let's say you went to your desktop folder, and what are the files that you are seeing on that desktop folder. Let's say on 1st of June, you visited your desktop folder, and there were multiple files in that. Okay. And now you also visited your documents folder, and let's say there were multiple other folders in that document folder and all. And now on 5th of June, let's say you deleted most of the files. Okay. And so using the cellback artifacts, which is actually existing over here, we can figure out, actually we can see that, okay, what all folders that person has visited on a particular date, and also what were the files and folders that were existing or existing on that host at that particular date, for an example. Okay. So there are a lot of info that we can kind of get out from the cellback folder. So it's basically like a screenshot. So let's say right now I'm visiting my, let's say, desktop folder, and I took a screenshot of that. Okay. How my desktop folder was looking like. So that's the same feature you can actually get it from by just parsing the cellback feature, and it is very useful because it will give you an idea what kind of a screen was, let's say, visible to the user uh, earlier when that user was doing some kind of, was accessing a desktop folder or let's say document folder, how the look and feel of that desktop computer was. Okay. So even without taking a screenshot, you can figure that out using a cellback. So it is a very cool artifact, and I have been using this for a lot of cases. So I'll kind of explain these things out. Okay. Similar way, let's say the employee is kind of, let's say that's filling certain data out to the C2 server, and we need to figure out, okay, what all Microsoft Word file did that user has kind of visited. So now the thing is that even for that, there is a artifact over here, like which says anti-user software Microsoft Office. So we'll look at what this anti-user is. Okay, we'll look at what this anti-user is, how we can access that file, and in that file, how we can go to this path and figure out, okay, what all Word file did that the user has visited. Okay, so we'll look at this part too. So today I'm just describing at a high level what things to expect in the next class, but thing is that we'll look at, okay, how we can kind of find out, okay, what all applications are executed on the system, or what all files or folder are executed on, or open on the system. We can figure out with all this kind of artifacts. So we'll look at most of them. Let's say we'll look at the recent file, we'll look at the LNK files, we'll look at the MRU, we'll look at the cellbacks, we'll look at the MRU over here, and then the Internet Explorer files. So most of them, we won't be seeing all of them, but at least the most of them. That is like very important for any SOC professional to know. Okay. And if you guys get all this knowledge, okay, you'll be able to kind of deal with an incident where, let's say, malware incident, or let's say policy violation case at a very, with a very high confidence, because in the SOC career, this is the 90% of the job that we need to do. We need to kind of investigate, or we need to kind of analyze the alert. Okay. So this all thing will be kind of really helpful for you guys. Okay. Now let's go to, let's see what all other things we'll look at. We'll look at the deleted items, how we can figure out, how we can see, okay, what all files, let's say there are certain files when we got hold of the system, and let's say there were files which were already deleted by the attacker, or let's say by the policy violator employee. They deleted certain kind of files from the host so that we can't see that. Okay. So in that case, there are multiple artifacts on the Windows by which you can figure out, okay, which all files were deleted and what were the content of those files. Okay. So for an example, thumbs.db. Okay. This actually is a screenshot, of the let's say, okay, like when you open a folder in Windows, you get a thumbnail images, like, okay, what that folder is actually containing. Let's say if that folder is having, let's say, 100 of images. So for an example, if I go over here, thumbs.db Windows, Bye.